Hi, my name is Tim, and this is my brother Todd. My brother Todd has disabilities. He got hurt when he was really young, so he has developmental delay disabilities, he's intellectual disabilities, cognitive disabilities, along with many physical disabilities. I don't want to get into all that. However, because of these disabilities, he has been placed in the regional system in California for his entire life practically. 90% of that time, he's been in Golden Gate Regional Center facility in Marin County. We are in Sonoma County. We've lived in Marin County. Todd has family in both areas, both Marin and Sonoma County. And for the last 3 years, Todd's been moved far away from us. So let's jump into that really quick. In October of 2021, Todd had been, up into that time, had started to have different needs for his health, and the facility that he was in was unable to meet those needs, and he needed to get into a facility that could. Unfortunately, we were locked into the pandemic and all the restrictions in all the homes, and there was nobody that would wanted to do any transfers letting in or out that time. So the coordinator did searches close in the area and then further and further until they found a home in Lodi, Sunshine, ICF, DDN care facility. And from us, Todd was in Novato. He was about 25 to 30 minutes away from us, so it was really easy to be with him and hang out with him and do things with him. And then if he got tired or didn't want to stay or wanted to go, it was quick enough to just zap him home. Lodi, however, is about 115 miles away, 120 from my dad's house. So we're about 2 hours and 15 minutes to 2.5 hours one way. 5 hours round trip if we say hi quick and get out of there. But it's incredible, and he's pretty much isolated from the entire family. We understand that this had to happen. However, since everything's been changing and we've been going through things with this regional center and the care facility, I kind of needed to timeline everything and put everything into perspective because we've been running into quite a few red flags with what's been happening. So October 2021, Todd transfers to a new facility and a new regional center. In December of 2021, we make the pilgrimage over to Lodi, my father, my wife, and I, and we bring Todd Christmas presents, and we want to go visit him and spend some time with him. We haven't seen him in several months. And so after that visit, we realized really quickly that none of the other family was going to make that trip, and it was really tricky for us to coordinate all of our schedules to make that trip. So since my dad was the primary person caring for Todd and taking care of all of his needs the best we could, I had my dad reach out to the care center and to the case manager to say, hey, we feel like Todd's not getting the support he needs from his family. There's no one that's going to be able to visit him or see him. We feel like it'd be good to get the ball rolling. We knew it would take some time to get that ball rolling so we can start looking at new placements for him. So when the option came along, we would be able to jump on something, again, that was closer. We'd actually like Todd in the North Bay Regional Center, so he would be even closer. 5-10 minutes away from us would be amazing. So then my dad got back to us with the information he received from the folks over there, which was, no, Todd's okay over here. He doesn't need to look at that stuff right now. He's in a place where he can, if his health needs change or he needs even a higher level of care, he's in a facility that will continue to be able to meet those needs. And that's kind of been the drumbeat that we've been feeling, that they keep on sharing with us, that this is the place for Todd, and because of his needs, and because there could be a chance 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road that his health can decline, they'll be able to take care of it. So for me, it was like, yeah, 15 years down the road, 5 years down the road, whatever it is, that's not an excuse to keep Todd away from us, really, that, and not have him closer where we can have him involved in our family. Right now, with the timeline, since the restrictions began, it's been since 2018. The Super Bowl in February, I think, was the last time we had Todd over, in 2018. So that's well over 6 years now since we've had Todd for Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Father's Day breakfast, Super Bowl. We've gone to concerts, we've gone to movies, we've gone to live events, we've gone to plays, just all the things we've done with Todd. We'd go run down there, pick him up, take him out to eat. Just all of that has just ended. And so we continue to try to communicate back and forth with the regional center and the house coordinator, and that steady, everything's okay. So finally, I felt like, since I'm next of kin probably, and going to be the closest one to be taking care of Todd moving forward, our father's health has declined. I felt it was time to really just insert myself into the situation and try to expedite what's been happening. So I've reached out to the case manager, whose name is Christian Kreiner. Now, Christian didn't get back to me right away, took a few phone calls and text messages, and then he got back to me. And then when we communicated, his response to me essentially was, the house coordinator, Jason, said that Todd was fine there and that he didn't want to see new placements. And every time we talk to Todd or speak with him or reminisce with him about the things we used to do or the things we'd still like to do, Todd's enthusiasm always goes up, and he's always interested in being closer to the family. I've also confirmed that with Todd's previous case manager, who was his case manager at Golden Gate Regional for 13 years, and she said, yes, Todd has always wanted to be closer to his family. He, even when he was in Golden Gate Regional, kept moving further and further north until he was just on the Sonoma-Marin border, essentially. So I asked that, since I had been talking to Todd and he had made it quite clear to me what his desires were, and they were saying that his desires were something else, I was like, okay, so can we meet on this? So in October of 2023, so a year ago, October 24th, 2023, we set up a meeting with Christian, the case manager, Jason, the house coordinator, Todd, and myself, to have a meeting over what to get us all on the same page. One of the red flags that came up right off the bat, and I didn't know why it was coming up, but Christian had mentioned to me on multiple occasions that Todd had to give permission for us, his family, to be a part of that meeting. Okay, so I talked to Todd, and he said, yeah, it was not a big deal. Another red flag that we've had over the last few years is that there was an issue with one of Todd's roommates, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But the main issue with getting in touch with Todd was coordinating with the house, trying to get in touch with him, trying to call him, trying to call the house, trying to call him, trying to call the house. What happens is, every time we would call the house for the last 3 years, the phone would ring, it would go to voicemail would be full. The phone would ring, it would go to voicemail, the voicemail would be full. And that has been the way it has been at that house. Funny, jumping off that, just this week when I called, it sounded like there was a new phone. and a voicemail that was accepting our calls. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. So anyway, we had our meeting, and in our meeting, before the meeting, another red flag, I called the house 3 times because I wanted to talk to Todd before the meeting, just to assure that we were going to be able to be involved in this meeting. Luckily, we were. The house never answered the phone. Jason was at the house that morning with Todd, coordinating that phone call with him. Christian gets on the phone, I get in the phone call, and then Jason, kind of interestingly, says to Todd, "Okay, Todd, tell your brother what we've been talking about." Not, "Hey, let's discuss this thing that's part of this meeting, or Todd's issues or health or behavior or anything that's been going on, Todd. Just let's tell your brother what we were just talking about." This raises a red flag a little bit down the road. So Todd says to me, he's a little trepidatious, he's a little soft in his voice, and I'm not making fun of my brother, but he's like, "Hey, Tim, I don't want to move." And he was very slow and quiet and soft. And if my brother doesn't want to move, and we haven't really asked him to move, we ask him what he wants his life to look like, and I'll talk about that as well. I said, "Okay, Todd, that's great." And then I went through his life, what his life looked like before he moved over there and what his life looks like now. And I kind of just drew all these pictures because Todd's got, again, you'll see, I'll link a video that we did this year on Todd's birthday to this video with him talking about this meeting that I'm explaining right now and his current desires. So I went through, hey, this is where you live, this is who you live with, this is what we did. We would get on the ferry, we'd go to the baseball game, we'd go to church, we'd get to the movies, we'd have you over for the Super Bowl, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, you name it, all these different things. And each time we talk about one of these next things and the next thing and the next thing during this meeting, Todd's energy level changed. He was like this. His energy was up. He was, yes, I'm interested. This is what I want. I said, "So Todd, you've got a decision." I said, "You can have your life look like it looks now, where you are, or we can get you closer to us and we can get you back involved in being a support for you as your family." And he was on board. Whatever they talked to him about before this phone call, he wasn't on board with that. He was on board with being with his family. And that's just an obvious point. And so in that meeting, Christian didn't say much, and then Jason jumped right in and was like, "Well, Tim," and then I started to get the impression that he gave my father. Todd's not the person he used to be, and he's, his health issues or his health needs are going to be, and this house could be, continue to take care of him. So right off the bat, I asked Jason, "Hey, is this the only house in California that will be able to meet my brother's needs?" No. There are 5 regional centers closer to us than Valley Mountain Regional Center. Probably hundreds of homes, probably thousands of beds, tons of which would love to have Todd. And we believe that there's something probably close to us. We just need to get the ball rolling and looking. So that was first confirmation that they understood that Todd just said in that meeting that he wants to see new placements. Then after that, Jason, the house coordinator, said to me, "Well, this is what you need to start looking for," and started explaining to me the types of homes that we need to start searching so that we could find something that was good for Todd. And he was saying, well, he's going to age out and he's going to do this and do that. But this is the second confirmation in that phone call that they recognized that Todd had just confirmed that he was interested in moving. So now we're all on the same page. Todd, I, Christian, and Jason. Todd is interested in seeing new placements. That meeting ends, I go ahead and I pen an email to Christian, the VMRC case manager for Todd. I say, I'm trying to start our relationship off on the right foot. I am. Really am. Thanks for all the work you do and for today's meeting. Here are a couple of emails and phone numbers for the contact info for Todd's case. Please forward this to or add this information that will go out to help us stay on board with Todd's transition. So that's October 24th, 2023. I have not heard back from Christian. It's October 20th, I think, 2024, a year later. I've sent emails. I've sent text messages. I've called VMRC and left him voicemails. Waited about 6 weeks. I wanted to get an update. Nothing happened. So into December, still wasn't hearing anything back, and into January. And so I was like, what's going on? So intuitively, I reached out to North Bay Regional Center and Golden Gate Regional Center. I wanted to see if maybe stuff was happening and we just weren't involved or couldn't be involved. So reach out to North Bay Regional. They haven't heard anything. Golden Gate Regional hadn't heard anything. They hadn't had any information brought over to them. So I waited a little longer, reached out to North Bay Regional again, and I said, hey, I'm not hearing back from this guy. I've reached out to him. They said we had this meeting, and they said you need to contact his supervisor. So Karen Jensen, who is program manager at Valley Mountain Regional Center, she is Christian's boss. And Karen, right off the bat, was the bomb. It was like this was going to make it happen. She heard our story. We gave her all the information. She said, well, let's let Todd decide. That's all what Todd wanted and what we wanted. So she said, what we'll do is we'll reach out. We'll get the information back. We'll find out what homes are available. And then we'll let Todd look at them. And if he decides he wants to move, he'll move. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Okay, we're on board. She reaches out to North Bay Regional. It's primarily we would like North Bay Regional. They get back to her within a day. North Bay Regional says, we don't have any homes that meets the same criteria of the home that Todd is in. So essentially what she tells me is they only looked at the information on the home, what they have, not what Todd's needs are. So I said, okay, well, can we correct that? Can we send that back out to him? Let's keep the ball rolling. And that is kind of where that ended. We also ended up getting one of these red flags answered with talking with Karen. She said that the reason that Christian needed to get our permission for us to be involved in Todd's meetings, and this is probably why she put the brakes on as well, is that Todd gave them a directive that we were no longer to be involved in his reviews or his updates or anything that was going on in his life. So now this just washes over like, what is going on? Todd gave you a directive that he no longer wants his family involved in his annual reviews or in anything going on in his life or any updates on his health. So it kind of helps put that puzzle together for us. And then Karen cuts off communication with us after dropping that piece and reaching out to her. Hey, did you hear back from North Bay? Hey, what's going on? Hey, apparently she got in touch with Todd, is the story. Todd gave her the directive that he didn't want to move anymore. So what happened was she had to coordinate to talk to Todd. In order to do that, you have to talk to Jason. Jason gets on the phone with Todd, sets up the meeting, tells Karen, cuts us off. That's been since the spring, March or so of 2024, and it's now October. So then we just keep moving forward with North Bay, trying to talk to them, seeing if they can make anything happen, and they can't because it's up to Valley Mountain Regional to take care of that. So North Bay says, hey, reach out to their HR department or figure out what you can do. We reach out. I talked to somebody at Valley Mountain Regional. They said you need to talk to this person. This person is Erin Martin. She is a division manager of consumer services. So she's like their complaint party person. And so she kind of gathers all the information and goes through all the same steps. And it's essentially the same things that we've been getting all along. Is she talks to Todd, and in order to talk to Todd, she coordinates that through Jason. Jason talks to Todd, sets up the call. Todd tells him he no longer wants us to move. He's not interested in moving, which is hysterical. Sorry, take a minute. So we have all these revelations now coming out about Todd giving them a directive, Todd not wanting, and we also reached out to a legal service. The legal service ran into the same thing, coordinating through Jason talking to Todd setting up the call. Todd doesn't want any of these services. So now we speak with the former resident coordinator that Todd was living in Novato, and we get a few nuggets from him. Interestingly enough, he said that there wasn't a lot of time spent with getting to know Todd when they came over to visit and to see if Todd was going to be a fit for them. It was a, hey, kind of get your stuff and let's go. The message that kind of felt like got conveyed to me was Todd is easy to care for. He's verbal. He can stand up and walk. He can get to the bathroom. He can feed himself. He's very low maintenance. You put him in front of the TV with the remote, and so the reason it seems that they wanted to fill a bed and move him over there. But he also gave us this nugget because we were talking about the placement piece, and he said, well, what's been going on at his annual reviews? Didn't dawn on me about the annual reviews. Todd's been over there for 3 years now. His birthday's in April, so he's had 3 annual reviews. Why haven't we been involved? Flashback to Karen. Karen's point was Todd gave them a directive that we weren't to be involved in any of his upcoming information. So now I'm going to go through that whole timeline. There's a bunch of red flags along the way. One of them is all these things that are being wedged in between Todd and his family. He's being pulled kind of emotionally, which is disturbing, and it feels like he's being influenced and manipulated to say things that he doesn't feel he feels. So one of them is, oh, I'm starting to get afraid of my brother because all he wants to talk about is me moving. And that's quite frankly not true. As a matter of fact, I've got 50 years of files here. Not a stitch of a sentence in any of those files, not once ever saying that there's ever been an episode, even a minute one, between Todd and I. I've never been nothing but sweet and kind and patient with my brother. I love him very much. So now they're starting to draw this thing where he's afraid of me. Okay, so I debunked that one with Todd in that video. The other one that they're coming up with is that Todd's afraid of his roommates. Well, the biggest issue Todd's ever had with a roommate is at Valley Mountain Regional Center. He had a roommate there that there was an incident with, and I don't know if they've made him aware of this at the regional center, but funny thing how they want to cut us out of everything in Todd's life, except for this issue. The staff was unable to care for Todd's behavior that was going on, so they needed to contact my dad. Why are we not being involved in the annual reviews? Maybe because Todd's having difficulties with roommates over there. And why is Todd in a home with a staff that is incapable of caring for some behavior issue? And why is the staff reaching out to my father? So there's that. There's the question of why isn't anybody on that side recognizing that there's no support from the family? And every time I post this question to everybody in this lineup, it's just dead air. There's no response. It's, why aren't you initiating this from Todd? Why aren't you looking at Todd's case and where he's living in his family situation and the lack of the support and visitation that he gets? So I've been trying to keep in touch with him pretty regularly. And he's, like I said, he was going to start a day program, which was going to be great. And he was all excited about it. And then I said, well, if you started Thursday, call me on Friday. Never called me. So I called him. I said, hey, how's your day program? Oh, I didn't start it. Called him the week later. Day program? No day program. Hey, start day program yet? No day program yet. As far as I know, he's still just spends his life waking up early. He eats. He sits in front of a television, watches TV all day. And that's it. That's the extent. And in the video, you'll see me say this. And to us, his family who love him, that's not living. That's just existing. And then they just say to us, well, we just want to keep him here forever if his health declines. Well, what if that's Todd's played Special Olympics? His health isn't great, but he's healthy and strong. Like he might outlast us. And here's another point as well. One of the points that I brought up in the conversation of the meeting with Jason and Christian and Todd and I in October 2024 or 2023 was, he says his health's declining. So if Todd's health's declining, or it does decline, why would it make sense to you to have him 2.5 hours away from his family? Why would he be better off in a hospital all the way over in Modesto or Stockton or Lodi or wherever there's a hospital over there 2.5 hours away from his family? Does that make sense to you? Or how about if his father's health declines or my health declines or somebody else, whatever, his father won't see him again if he stays over there. My father's not willing to make that drive anymore because of his health issues. So why wouldn't it make more sense to have Todd close to his family? He's got cousins, second cousins, nieces, sisters, brother, his father, aunts, uncles, all here in Marin and Sonoma County, all around him. Doesn't make sense. So there's all these red flags, and there's probably more, but I can't think of them right this moment. So let's move forward. So now April's coming up. Todd's birthday's coming up. We keep trying to coordinate with Aaron to set up a meeting. And so I go ahead and make a video with Todd, with my wife. We visit him on his birthday. I bring him a couple of photo albums with photos from his entire life. We bring him gifts and cake and spend plenty of time just going through all that stuff, and then ask him before we start, hey Todd, we'd like to make a video talking about what's going on, how your health is, kind of share it with the family. We want to talk to him about the meeting that we had with Jason in October 24, 2023. We want to kind of just update everybody, and we ask him if that would be all right with him. So we go ahead and we make a nice detailed video, and that video is linked to this video, and that was just back in April. And so we make the video. We also go ahead and make a document of intent, since their biggest issue that they keep saying to us is Todd's 18, even though he's got all these issues with his cognitive and intellectual and all the disabilities he has. He's 18, he can make these decisions on his own. And I think this is the tool that they keep using to keep us wedged in keeping Todd. And it's disturbing because Todd's This poor guy has been dealing with this man for 53 years of his life. His life's been hard enough already. Why are you emotionally tugging on him and draining him and pulling him between his family? So anyways, we go ahead and we make a little bit of a wave by putting out this video. We receive a call a couple weeks later from Jason. Now, this is the first time Jason ever calls me. So this video obviously lit a fire. One thing he said is he wanted me to correct something in the video, and I've already corrected it in this video, but it's essentially that Christian's the one that asked me or told me that Todd needs to give permission, not Jason. Okay, corrected. And then he goes back into the sales pitch of, well, Todd, you know, his health isn't the same, and as he gets older, he'll still be able to stay here, and we'll still be able to care for him. And it's like, man, sorry, it's not, it's all, let's look at this. What are the motivations? And Todd doesn't have a trust. He doesn't have an inheritance he's going to give anybody. He's not inheriting anything, really. Our only motivation is in our hearts. We love him and miss him. It's been a very long time since, you know, we've been able to have him in our home and with us and holidays and all the things that we talked about earlier. So there's no incentive for us other than we love Todd. But let's look at the aspects of one of the things that the people at the VMRC want to say to me is like, oh, we don't make any money directly off Todd. Well, maybe you don't make money off Todd himself, but you're a tax-funded, primarily probably, service, and that comes to you from the state, and the state allocates those funds probably based on how many people are in your system, correct? So if there's 5 people in your system, or if there's 50 people in your system, or if there's 500 people in your system, those funds are allocated differently. So Todd is a person in your system, ergo. So let's look at the motivation of what could be the home. What's their motivation? What's Sunshine's motivation for Todd? Why hold on to him so tightly? And we spoke to a guy that runs homes here, has 2 homes with 4 beds in each home. So let's go ahead and have you open up a search engine, and go ahead, open it up and type in California CCF monthly care rates. California CCF monthly care rates. Now, what I've been instructed as to what Todd's level is a level 4I. And if you want to find the regional center, you're going to find in your search there, you'll see it'll show you a place where you can click on, go see the monthly rates, find the regional center, click on that, then go through the rates that each person provides to that home, and Todd is a level 4I. Yeah, it's a lot, huh? It's not a little bit of money. And I can understand why, if you're running a home and you've got overhead and staff and you need to keep care of your family or whatever it is, why you'd want to keep that bed filled. There's also the SSI, and I'm not positive on this. I could be right or wrong, but there's a couple places where I saw there's also a stipend for $760 something a month for rents and incidentals as well. So if you add all that up, it would make sense why you would want to not have Todd leave the home, correct? And here's the thing. Todd, it's not our responsibility to make sure that these businesses stay afloat. It's theirs. So holding on to him or manipulating him or pushing him in a certain direction or creating fear or anxiety in him, between him and his family, just so you can fill a bed or check a box or meet your quotas or minimums, is wrong to do to a man that has special needs. It is. Because here, let's go through this timeline. Todd moves over October 2021. December 2021, we go and visit him, realize this is too far. Now, Dad talks to them, says, hey, this is too far. My son and I, we feel like we'd like Todd to see placements closer. Now, all of a sudden, voila, Todd comes out with this directive. Todd doesn't give directives. Todd says, I want cheese on my hamburger, or I want to wear socks today, or I want to watch this movie. He doesn't say these big, I don't want my family involved in my annual reviews or my health updates or my behavioral issues or my doctors or anything like that. Todd doesn't give that type of information out. He's not cognitively enough aware to do stuff like that. So what happens? My guess is sometime after Christmas, before his first annual review, there's a meeting that happens with Todd, influencing him and guiding him and getting him to say these things. And lo and behold, what does that do? It cuts us out of the loop. Here's what I want to know. If for 32 years, after he turned 18 to when he was 50, we were involved in everything, what was happening in his records that you felt you needed to change that? Why would you have a conversation with Todd about having his family involved? When did you have the conversation with Todd about having his family involved? Why wouldn't we be involved in that conversation or informed that that conversation was going to happen? And why weren't we informed of the outcome of that? Why were we just cut out of the loop? Remember those things that we just talked about, the financial stuff? Could be it, huh? We don't know. We're not saying for sure. So going forward, no annual review, no annual review. We find out this is what's going on. This person talks to this person. This is what's going on. And now, just recently, a couple weeks ago, I called Aaron with Todd on the phone, Todd saying to Aaron, we want to meet. We got a call from Jason. One of the things he said in the call to us, because we never talked to him, and here's a couple of things about that call too. One is we've never heard from him 2.5 years, right? He calls and he says, hey, can't we meet up in Vallejo or get along, or, Todd will give you the medications and stuff. And we know how that stuff works. We've been doing it for years. I've taken Todd to the East Coast. I've bathed him. I've had him over my house for weeks at a time. I know how that stuff works, but Todd's at a point now where it's easier if he's close, because if he doesn't feel good, he can just go home and be in his space. So that was one thing. So if he says he hasn't tried, well, he hasn't. And if he wanted to let me know at some point that all these things were happening behind the scene without us knowing, why didn't you let me know on October 25th? Because here's the thing. Karen also dropped this bombshell that there was another meeting, because I wanted to know why Christian wasn't answering me. And she said, well, they had another meeting and Todd didn't want to move. So after all the effort it took me to get that meeting, after the effort that we put into that meeting, after the revelation that came out of that meeting, Karen tells me they had another meeting. Okay, so another one of these things happened where, when did that meeting happen? Was it 5 minutes after our meeting? Was it an hour after our meeting? Was it the next day? Was it the next week? When did that meeting happen? Why did that meeting happen? Again, we just had the meeting. We just came to a consensus. Todd just gave that information. Do you want to know why they had to have another meeting? Because they needed to change the directive of what Todd desired. There has not been a meeting where we as his family have been involved and the directive hasn't been, I want to be with my family. Why didn't you inform us of this meeting? Why didn't you invite us to this meeting? And then why has it been a whole year since you've responded to me? Why haven't you gotten back to me or us or my father or anybody in our family about these directives that keep getting changed? So I'm going to go ahead and put this video together. I'm going to link it, Todd's other video, so you can see him involved with it. And then we're going to share it. And we hope that this information, once it gets to you, that you're going to do the right thing and that we're going to hear from you soon and that we're going to see placements, because that's what Todd wants, not what we want. And if we need to have a meeting, we are more than willing and welcoming to picking Todd up, bringing him to your regional center, and sitting down with you and talking